here quickly to NetCharts Designer. For some of your existing customers, this is a very familiar interface. I'm going to go full screen here. For your new folks on here, this is a very common integrated development environment look and feel. Over on the left-hand side, you have your applications or your projects. In the main window here where you see this chart is your preview browser. And then on the bottom, excuse me, is all of your parameters and options that you can set across your chart and how you bind your data. So what I'm going to demonstrate right now, very quickly and easily, is I'm taking an existing bar chart that we had created in a previous version of NetCharts Designer, specifically version 6. This looks very similar to most of the charts that you've probably created in NetCharts Designer 6 or earlier. Very standard flat look, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how quick and easy it is to convert your existing charts and graphs and leverage all the new enhancements to make those charts and graphs more modern looking and take advantage of a lot of new powerful features. So a few things I'm going to do here is we have a very simple chart. It's a bar chart, 2 series of data. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some drop shadows. So over in our bar chart properties area, I come over here and add a drop shadow. So we'll go ahead and add a gray drop shadow. You'll see that the drop shadow gives these bars a little depth to the chart. I'm also going to round the corners. I'm not too fond of the squareness or the rectangularness of each of these bars. So I'm going to go ahead and add rounded corners. We'll go ahead and add rounded corners, and you'll notice it's slightly rounded since this is a smaller chart, so we'll go ahead and we'll actually make this a little larger here. So as you can see very quickly and easily how we've done the ability to make our chart larger. We've added some depth. Now let's go ahead and throw some highlighting on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a horizontal gradient. This again gives us a little more depth, a little more shading. And what I'm going to do is instead of using our default colors, I'm going to go ahead and use one of our standard colors. I'm going to pick our standard format as one option here. In NetCharts Designer, we give you a number of default color schemes. But I'm not too fond of these greens and yellows, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick an amber look. And I believe we have ambers up front. That's the color I'm looking for. Though it is thought to be spring, still feel for a little fall here. So as you can see very quickly and easily, I've been able to take that flat greenish looking chart that we built in 6 with a couple minor adjustments with the new features, added some depth, added some modern look to this. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a grid to it, and we'll do a new grid. This grid's popping too much, so I'm going to come down here quickly and I'm going to do our let's do our light gray background so we can see the depth of the grid, but the data and the bars are actually what pops on the screen than the grid. So giving it a little more modern look. A couple other things I'm going to do. I'm going to adjust the axis scheme. So we'll take a look at the left axis here, and I'm just going to do a few things to fade that out. And let's go ahead and I'm going to get rid of the ticks. I want to make this really modern looking, and we'll go ahead and make that white also, and I'm going to fade that 100%. And that will remove the look. So again, really focused on the chart itself and the data. Very quickly looking over to the left to see how each these pieces of data scale up, so 942. And I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom axis. Again, very simple to come in here, change from a very dark color to fade this out so your eyes and the user's eyes don't tend to these lines that aren't as important as the actual data. And what I can do is make this white, and we'll make this white. So again, we've got that modern look here. Another thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a legend. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my legend. I'll put the legend here. I'm not too fond of it being over on the right-hand side, so I'll move this to the bottom, and I'm going to actually make this horizontal. So Doesn't take up as much real estate as it being vertical. And what we'll do is we'll actually give this a quick title. This will be Server Hits for Q1 05. And we'll give this a blue banner look. And not too fond. I'll just go to the multi-pie title. That looks good. So as you saw very quickly and easily, going from that very simple but yet powerful chart from version 6 into a more modern look. You can take advantage of this with your existing charts and applications that you've built in previous versions of NetCharts Designer and Server, and take them and add a little pop to them and give your users a little more modern look and feel. So that's demonstrating some of the new features around styles that we've added. The next thing I want to demonstrate to you is some of the new interactivity and or some of the new animation capability. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to the legend, and we have this animation parameter for your legend. And if I go ahead, and our default that we provide is a gray legend, but you can easily come in here and any of these styles, click the edit icon, and go ahead and change or add new styles that you want for the interaction or the animation here. And what this animation really is more interactivity. So as I am a user coming over, you'll see as I highlight the legend, Server 3 hits, you'll see that the orange bars in the chart itself are actually highlighting. Likewise, if I come over, the same thing occurs. Now what I'm going to demonstrate also is this new feature called toggle visibility. So as soon as I click on toggle visibility, what we've done is we've actually on the fly converted this chart output from an image actually to an SVG. But before I demonstrate this in a browser, what I'm going to do is I'm going to untoggle this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the Show an External Browser, and this should launch by default browser, which right now is Chrome, and you'll see that this interaction still works. What's nice is if I right-click on this, you'll see that this is still an image. So this interactivity is fully available with NetCharts Designer for images. So that you don't have to leverage SVG and be concerned about legacy browsers. You can add this type of interactivity, this type of animation to your charts and graphs, and we convert it and add the appropriate scripting so that these interactions occur. So what I'm going to do is I will switch back to Designer, and I'm going to go ahead and toggle that visibility, and as I mentioned, by toggling this, we tell the system to produce an output that's a scalable vector graphics. And the reason we do that is, unfortunately, with an image, you can do the mouse overs, but you can't toggle the visibility. So what you'll see now, if I go ahead and view this in an external browser, my rollovers still operate, but now if I click on Server 3, you'll see that these fade back to dim out the availability of that so I can focus more on Server 2 hits. If I click on it again, it brings it back to light to the user. So the user now has some interactivity with any type of chart that may have multiple lines, multiple bars. You can go ahead and add this functionality so the user can interact and look at the data that's important to them. And again, that's the most important thing here. If I go ahead and right-click, you'll see that this is actually in frames. And if I view the frame source, I'll demonstrate to you or show you that this is actual scalable vector graphics. And if you're familiar with the HTML specification around SVG, it's an XML format, and we'll actually go down to the data. And here's the actual data that tells the browser how to actually render this image. And the JavaScript above it that's embedded is all the activity to allow the user to interact with the specific chart. I would highlight that one of the powers of HTML5 and scalable vector graphics and our type of output is because you can inject JavaScript into it as we have, it's also part of the DOM. So as you create your web applications and you want to embed some of this very powerful charting capabilities we provide, your developers or your web developers can now, with their JavaScript, take advantage of the document object model of the browser and interact with the chart also. So it gives you the flexibility and the future-proofing as you build out new web applications on the new browsers coming out. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is, you saw that was scalable vector graphics. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to bring up my Internet Explorer to demonstrate to you. We'll go ahead and we'll do this. That this will still operate. This is actually IE7. So as soon as I bring up that chart, you'll see that it took an extra moment. And if I right-click on it, you'll see now it says Flash. So this is actually a Flash asset. Just converted that scalable vector graphics into Flash on the fly. We still have all the interactivity. And if I click onto this, that same activity that you saw, thus behaving slightly different as it completely fades out here. We're in the SVG. It fades out to shading. But it does give that same interactivity. So the ability to leverage the newer technology and allow us to help you get the new look and feel and take advantage of some of the capabilities of HTML5 and scalable vector graphics while being able to extend these charts out to users leveraging these legacy browsers that do not support HTML5 and still have the interactivity really helps you out as a developer or a creator of these new charts and graphs. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other new features. So what we want to do now is I want to go ahead and animate this slightly. So I'm going to come down here and you'll see now that for all of our charts we have the animation feature. I'm going to go ahead and enable animation, and right now everything's set. And in this case we have a number of capabilities, grid lines to bars to legends and labels. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to fade in my grid line. So what's going to happen is it'll show you that that grid in the back is faded in. And actually I want motion. I want to actually show those bars grow. So I'm going to go ahead and select grow, and you'll see here in a moment that the bars will grow as it fades in. And I'm going to go ahead and also fade in the legend and fade in the label. And you'll see now that I have full animation. And here I'm going to demonstrate to you when I open this up in my Chrome. You'll see that it actually opened up, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. And you'll see again it opened up. You'll see the grow. You'll see the fade. So to the user, it's very motion. It catches their eye. All the interactivity we saw a moment ago is still available. So I click on, I faded out server 2. I can really focus my eyes on server 3 performance and take a look at that. Again, I want to demonstrate to you. Copy this. I'll go back to my IE. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll paste this in. Hit return, and you'll see again, it takes an extra second. It's converting it to Flash, and you see all of that interactivity. You saw the fades, you see the grows. So go ahead and I'll hit refresh again. You'll see it here in a moment. Go ahead and grow very nicely onto the screen and fade the back-end data. And again, to prove to you, this is Flash. It did convert it on the fly. Again, taking advantage of that. So what I'm going to do, the last part of my demo here, we're getting close to the end of our webinar, is I'm going to go ahead and create a couple new charts and show you what you will see out of the box. So I'm going to go ahead